I had barely stepped out of the car, still dragging my dusty backpack from 6 months of solo travel across Asia, when a woman I'd never seen before stormed toward me and screamed that my moving truck was illegal. 10 minutes later, she was on the phone with 911 reporting me like I was some kind of criminal. That insane call was just the beginning, because the deeper I dug into her hypocrisy, the faster her perfect little empire collapsed right in front of the whole neighborhood. My name's Timothy, and I'd just come home after half a year bouncing between Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, living off $20 a day, learning how to bargain with street vendors who could talk you into buying 3 watches when you only wanted 1, charming visa officers with broken phrases finding my way through sketchy borders. I thought suburban life would feel simple after all that chaos. But nothing prepared me for Maple Ridge or for the suburban dictator who ran it like her personal kingdom. Her name was Monica Brooks, HOA president. If Central Casting needed a Karen, she was it, pressed khakis embroidered polo with HOA president in gold thread, a giant black binder hugged to her chest like a weapon, and that perfectly frosted blonde bob that screamed, "I want to speak to the manager." She power-walked toward me as if I'd set my house on fire. "Excuse me," she barked before I could even put my suitcase down. "That moving truck has been parked here for over 2 hours. You're in direct violation of HOA Section 4.7. I blinked, jet-lagged, still wearing the same t-shirt I'd worn for 18 hours on a plane. Hi. I'm Timothy. Just moved into 24 Maple Wrong, answer." Her face tightened and she whipped out her phone. "I'm calling the police." And sure enough, 15 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. Officer Rivera looked exhausted before he even got out. He checked my truck, glanced at Monica, waving her binder like a sword, then sighed. "Ma'am, there's clear access. This is a civil HOA matter, not criminal." He handed me an incident slip, gave Monica a look that said, "Don't waste my time again," and drove off. You'd think that would end it. But Monica turned on her heel like she'd just won a court case. 1 hour to move that truck, or additional violations will be filed, she snapped before strutting to her shiny silver Mercedes parked in the prime visitor spot. Vanity plate HA1. Leaves literally piled around the tires like the car had taken root. That's when it hit me. She was calling the cops on me for a 2-hour moving truck while her Mercedes had been squatting in visitor parking for years. My salvation came in the form of Maya, my next-door neighbor, who appeared with 2 cups of coffee and the look of someone who'd seen this circus before. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, handing me caffeine and sympathy. She explained Monica's history, fining people for flower pots, the wrong shade of terracotta citing her for wearing unprofessional clothes after work. Another neighbor, Walt, raised his mug from across the street like he was watching a TV show. "Hope you enjoy paperwork and arbitrary rules," he said. That's when I knew I wasn't just unlucky I'd walked into someone else's battlefield. At first, I tried to brush it off, but then Walt showed me something that flipped a switch. The original HOA handbook from 2015, clean, straightforward rules. Then, Monica's updated 2022 version stuffed with new clauses, loopholes, and buried in the fine print something called Presidential Vehicle Allowance. Translation: Monica had written herself a free Mercedes billed to the community. I cross-checked 3 years, $850 a month. That's over 30 grand. All of us had been paying for her car while she fined people for flower pots. That was the moment anger turned into obsession. I built my own case file. Every photo, every receipt, every ridiculous violation she threw at me, I documented it all, and Monica did retaliate. The next morning, I got a violation notice in my inbox, non-compliant residential modifications. Fine, $200, the so-called violation. My white picket fence. According to her, fences had to be neutral gray to preserve visual harmony. The fence had been white since before I bought the house. It was laughable, except the fine was real. I remember sitting at my kitchen table with that notice in my hands, feeling the jet lag crash over me like a wave. 6 months of surviving night markets and border crossings, and here I was back home ready to give up because some HOA tyrant had a binder and too much free time. I thought maybe I'd just pay the fine. Maybe I'd move the truck and stay quiet. Maybe Monica had won. For a moment, I truly believed I didn't belong here. Then, Maya walked in with her golden retriever bounding behind her. She dropped a receipt on the table, proof Monica had scammed her on fake parking fees. "Tim, you're not crazy. She's been doing this for years." And something in me shifted. I wasn't alone. I had backup. That was the reason to fight. From that point, it was war. We collected more evidence like invoices Monica accidentally dropped when Cooper Maya's dog bowled into her. Invoices billed to the HOA but addressed to her own house. Landscaping, tree removal, even auto services. She lunged to snatch them from my hands, snapping mind-your-own-business travel boy. But the mask had slipped. The community meeting was my first big showdown. Monica strutted in navy blazer pearls binders stacked like fortresses. She even had a PowerPoint with photos of my car circled in red. She called me a potential risk factor for property values. I thought for a second the crowd was buying it. My stomach twisted. Was I really about to be run out before I'd even unpacked? Then Maya stood up, her EMT badge clipped to her shirt. "Monica, could you clarify the medical exemption process for visitor parking?" The room went dead silent. Monica fumbled. The board members looked anywhere but at her. Turns out no one had ever voted on her so-called medical exemption. The cracks were showing. Still, Monica doubled down. She sent more fines. My porch lights were visual pollution. My housewarming party was unauthorized commercial activity. But the pièce de résistance came when I used her own rulebook against her. I reserved the visitor spot, her precious Mercedes throne, for a community integration event. Balloons, banners, coffee tables. Maya helped me set up a week-long festival right where her car had been. And for 7 days straight, Monica had to walk 3 blocks in high heels to her real parking spot. By Wednesday, she was unraveling, filing complaint after complaint, 6 in 4 days. Officer Rivera called me. "If she files one more false report, I'm citing her." The tables had turned. She wasn't the enforcer anymore. She was the problem neighbor. The climax came that Friday. I was flipping burgers on my grill. Neighbors gathered for the housewarming celebration when Monica stormed into the crowd binder, clutched like a shield. Her voice was shrill, shaking with fury. "You people are being manipulated by this outsider. He doesn't belong here." I stayed calm, turned a burger, smiled. "Want one? Monica, plenty to share. Wrong move." She exploded. "This man makes exactly $2,800 a month. He can't even afford this neighborhood." The world froze. 40 neighbors stared. Maya's coffee cup slipped from her hands and shattered on the pavement. Monica had just confessed out loud to accessing my private financial records. That's a federal crime. Officer Rivera, who'd just pulled up on patrol, wrote it down on the spot. "Mrs. Brooks, how did you obtain this information?" he asked. Her face drained of color. I guessed." Nobody believed her. Every single person had heard her exact number. By Monday, Monica was desperate. She called an emergency HOA meeting, ready to finish me off with a final smear campaign. But this time, I walked in carrying a folder of Janet's evidence the treasurer Monica had ousted when she asked too many questions. I read Monica's own emails out loud, detailing how she billed tree removal at her house to emergency HOA maintenance, how she used HOA funds to pay her divorce attorney, $48,000 stolen in 3 years. The room gasped. And then came the final blow. Walt, the quiet retiree with the coffee mug, stepped forward. "Actually," he said calmly, "none of this matters. Monica has never had legitimate authority here." He laid a deed on the table. Walter Bennett, master developer of Maple Ridge, owner of 85% of the land under every house. Monica's presidency. Never valid without his approval. Effective immediately, he said, "I'm terminating her authority and filing charges for theft and fraud." Monica collapsed into her chair, her binder sliding to the floor, papers spilling like the last shreds of her power. Neighbors who once feared her now whispered, pointed, even laughed. And just like that, her reign was over. I started this battle thinking I was just unlucky enough to move in next to a control freak. But I learned something bigger, that bullies thrive on fear and silence, and the moment you start documenting questioning standing up, their whole empire crumbles. Because power built on lies only lasts until someone says enough.